Daily Broadside, day 493. It's been 4 hours and 15 minutes since I found out Sinead has passed. Dude, I'm going to tell you what. I was watching something earlier. I've seen a couple of these people that they'll build a house, like a new house, and they build like a little door that goes from their garage right into their cabinetry, right? So for groceries, they just unload their little Honda Pilot, their little SUV, say that word, and just shove it right into the cabinet. And then they walk around to the kitchen, and then they open the cabinet to get all the groceries out. You know what I don't have a problem doing? Is just carrying the groceries into the house. Like, why am I going to load them twice? I get in theory and practice that makes some sense, but I think once they get it, they're going to be like, can we just drywall this in? Because this is dumb. You know, it's just somewhere else to collect dust. You got valuable counter space. I say cabinet space is what I should say. Valuable cabinet space that you're wasting just because it's going to be like an empty cabinet. You're not going to store anything in there because then you'd have to move, twice as much stuff. It's just, I don't think they think that through. And really, when you think about it, anytime there's double doors, they're rarely very functional. You ever seen people that like, they got a mailbox and they've got a door on the back of the mailbox that they get their mail from, and then on the front of the mailbox where the mailman puts the mail into the receptacle. Unless you live on like an expressway and you can't stand out where the mail goes, what are you doing? What are you really doing? I mean, is it that? Can you not walk a foot and a half around? Take your lazy ass around to the front of the mailbox and let's get your mail out. I mean, that's dumb to even sell stuff like that. Like, there are very few instances where I would think, or situations where I would see that man, we really need a double-sided, door. It's like any kind. I mean, think about like, what do they call those things? The split doors, right? Where you got like the bottom half of the door can open independently from the top. The hell were you doing this for? I mean, maybe if you got a dog and you live out in the country and you want fresh air in the spring to come through your house, but you don't want the dog to get out, or you don't want like raccoons or critters or anything just wandering your house, maybe that makes sense. But I've never seen these things up close to where they've got like a rubber gasket. Like, well, how is there not like a reveal right through the middle and you just got air leaking through your door if that's an exterior door? They had one of those in Funny Farm with Chevy Chase. Yellow dog. A French door. The French got it right. I mean, I've had three houses with French doors, but I take that back. I've had two. The first house was a faux French door. The one side didn't open, but the other ones, they both open, which is great when it's time to move a couch or a Christmas tree. That's it. Although I denounce Christmas trees, I don't think they make any sense. I think they're commercially dumb, and they're a waste of a good tree. It's just stupid. Anyway, ecologically, I find it interesting that so many people, fight the fight of, climate change and everything like that. But I guarantee they wrap presents and buy Christmas trees. Wrapping presents is like the most wasteful thing that you can do on planet Earth. I think there'd be very few things you could find. I mean, you're basically, as soon as you wrap it, you just unwrap it and throw it away. It's just such a waste of paper. But I digress. Getting back to the French doors, yeah, they're great for moving large items into your house without having to, pivot. I think everybody understands that reference by now. So, yeah. And I'm going to tell you what, man. I've never owned a car that comes with champagne flutes because I don't have a Maybach, whatever. I think it's Maybach. A Bentley or a Rolls, nor would I want one. I don't want any car that has a mineral oil brake system because, good Lord, that's a problematic system. It's neat, it's genius, but it has a problem later on. You can't afford to keep those things on the road. You can pick up a Bentley or a Rolls from like the 60s for like less than 20 grand, but you can't keep it on the road for less than 20 grand. That's the problem. But champagne flutes come in these cars nowadays. What kind of lifestyle you got to lead to buy, a $300,000, $400,000, $700,000 car, hire a driver to drive the dumb thing, and then you decide to have champagne in your car. That's just weird. And I understand, like, the flutes are the stupidest looking things next to a martini glass that you can drink alcohol out of. And I understand why they got them. You don't want to put it in a wine glass or something, because the flute has something to do with the bubbles, keeping it tight, and letting them effervescently, rise to the top of the flute. I don't like the fact that it's called a flute. I think that's stupid. But yeah, you're cruising along in your Maybach, and you decide that let's pop open some champagne. That seems like a dangerous thing to open in a moving car. I've opened one of those things before, and it's not an exaggeration in the movies and the cartoons. Those some bitches come out with some force, some pressure and force. I tell you, you could put out the chauffeur's eye. Maybe that's why they got that little windscreen or something in between the limo. But yeah, I want them to sell like a Chevy Duramax 1-ton dually that comes with like a champagne flute option. I think that'd be kind of cool. Why is it always got to be Maybach people, that get the champagne flutes? Because I would argue that it's got to be in the high 90% of people that buy a car that comes with champagne flutes and then never flute. You know what I mean? They ain't fluting nothing. All right. It's highfalutin is what it is. Highfalutin life. You see what I did? But yeah, that's just dumb. It ought to come. If I had a company, if it was like Daimler Chrysler, all my cars would come with a champagne flute option. I don't know where you're putting them. They might have to shove them in that pocket behind the seat, because we're not necessarily going to have a place for the flutes to sit. But you can cram. Maybe put them up in the ceiling or something. Kind of like a hat rack, like a cowboy hat rack. Just have a flute rack up top. Whatever. And lastly, I think that while they're still living, they're a couple years apart from one another. I think one's significantly older than the other. But I think John Cicada and Neil Sedaka should form a band, and it'd just be called Sedaka Cicada or something like that. Cicada Sedaka. Manzada Manada. Zanabada Kanabada. Sedaka Kakada. They got some crazy ass names for their band. Anyway, that was dumb. Y'all have a good one.